All right, we are gonna end that song early. Welcome everybody. Thanks for coming to part 2 of your first deal series with our friends over at GM Title. So Jade and Tiffany are on with us today. And then we will finish next week with Eric Akbar. He's going to be going over writing your first deal. Jade and Tiffany, I'm going to make both of you guys hosts because I'm going to hop off in just a few minutes. So at the end, you'll just have to end the meeting. Remember, guys, if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. I'm sure Tiffany and Jade would love for you guys to also unmute and ask. So I'm going to let you guys take it away.
Thanks so much. Hello, everybody. I'm Tiffany. I'm the operations manager of GM Title. And
Hi, everyone. I'm Jade. I'm the client relations manager.
So essentially, anything you need, call Jade. Anything, if Jade's not available, you can call me. I handle kind of the day-to-day, and Jade is, she makes sure that every agent that we work with, that their deals go smoothly and they're trained on items they'd like to be trained on and that their needs are met whenever possible. So Jade, do you want to start off? We're going to share a presentation with you guys and kind of go through it. As Danielle said, please feel free to unmute and ask questions anytime throughout the presentation. You can also ask questions in the chat box while Jade's talking. I'll keep an eye on those and vice versa.
Perfect. Can I share my screen? I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
Find it. Sorry, guys.
While she's doing that, can I ask, have any of you, are you working on getting your first deal? Have you had a deal close yet? So everyone's brand new?
Closing one tomorrow. So.
Oh, great. Good. That's awesome.
Congrats. I'm working on my first one. Don't have it
Awesome.
yet, so learning.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm working with a client right now, so we're still in the process in early stages.
With a buyer or listing?
With the buyer.
Okay.
Yep.
After the call, Jade's gonna talk about net sheets a little bit. So these are really valuable for you to be able to do. Jade or I can do them for you, of course, in a pinch. But when you're on the road and you want to do a quick net sheet for your buyer or seller, we have the ability for you to be able to do that. So if you want to schedule a one-on-one with Jade, and if a couple of people are interested, we might schedule something. Perfect. Thanks, Jade. We might schedule, maybe a little mini class so you can learn how to do a net sheet. And what that is it tells your seller how much they're going to get for the sale of their home, or it tells the buyer, what estimated monthly payments are, what their title fees would be, and so on. If any of you are ever working with investors, we do offer, we match other title companies' investor rates. So they don't get charged our full amount. We are pretty much the lowest of most of our competitors. But if somebody is lower than us, we will match their fees as well on any deal, investor or not. So that's something to keep in mind. At GM Title, Jade will kind of walk you through. You have two main points of contact. You work with an escrow coordinator and an escrow officer. And then she and I are here for you for anything you need outside of that. So Jade, if you want to kick it off, that'd be awesome.
Perfect. Thanks, Tiff. Hi, guys. Like Tiffany said, I am Jade, and this is kind of, this whole presentation is pretty much kind of what we do as a title company. After you guys make the deal, give us the contract, it is pretty much our process from there on out until the transaction is closed. So like Tiffany said, Tiffany is the operations manager. She does the day-to-day process, any big issues, she kind of is your go-to girl. And I am here to meet your needs, give any training that you guys need, explain anything that may be on title that you guys don't fully understand. We are both available after hours and weekends. Though it is our cell phone number, our direct line at the office, as well as our email address. She kind of went over net sheets, but we use a software called Title Capture, and Title Capture offers 11 different net sheets. Obviously, the most popular are our seller net sheet and our buyer net sheet. But however, we can go as in depth as to, let's say your clients need to net a certain amount. We could kind of take that amount and work it backwards to see what you guys have to list the property at in order for them to receive that amount. So any kind of situation you guys need, there is probably going to be a net sheet for that. Like Tiffany said, if you guys need me to walk you through it or don't understand, please reach out to one of us. We are more than happy to generate the net sheet or walk you guys through that. So there are pretty much our 4 basic points or contact people that are going to touch your guys' file. The first one is going to be the escrow coordinator. This is the one who will receive the file the first. They will check the title commitment, which is what we receive to show what is on title. They will be the point of contact for your client's first point of contact in order to get information sheets, power of attorneys, operating agreements, anything that we need in order to ensure clear title. They will kind of get that information. From there, the file will go to the escrow officer. They are kind of the person who's going to work up those final figures. They're going to tell your clients how much they will be receiving or they need to bring to the table at closing. They will be in touch with the buyer's lenders and as well as agents and your clients as well. So pretty much when we get a file and we enter it in our system, there will be an email that automatically goes out to you and your clients, and that will have contact information for the escrow coordinator and the escrow officer that will be assigned to that particular file. From there, we are going to give, after the escrow officer is done, they are going to get the clear to close from the buyer's lender, and it goes to the closing coordinator. Their job is to pretty much schedule the buyers and the sellers to sign their final papers. We do have a team of mobile notaries, so they can go to whatever location is most convenient for your clients. And then the docs will be brought back to us. After everybody has signed, the file goes to the post-closing coordinator, and they are the people who will disperse and close the file. You will also receive an email from that person as well, and it lets you know, congratulations, we are closed. Title is, insured from there on. And they are also the person who disperses commissions, HOAs, homeowners, home warranty, etc. So after you guys get your contract signed by the buyer and seller, what we need from you is the fully executed contract, including all signatures. Sometimes we do get them without the buyer or seller signature, and we cannot really open that file until we have full signatures for obvious reasons. We will also need your affiliated business arrangement. This is a form that only your clients will have to sign. And pretty much what it is stating is Keller Williams, Greater Metropolitan, and GM Title are an affiliated business together. We will also request your escrow letters be sent right off the bat along with that contract. And this is actually the next thing is the most important thing. And I got to be honest, this is the thing probably that is holding up us up the most is contact information, full contact information for your buyers and sellers. And that includes email address, where they are currently residing, and phone numbers. We will also need the point of sale if the city does require it. And if you guys do not know if a city requires it, we do have a list that the leadership team has access to, as well as myself. So if you need that list, if a point of sale is required in order for a certain city, please reach out. I will be more than happy to send that to you. Also, certain properties in certain counties require, certain counties require well and septic if there is a well and septic on the property. In that point of sale list that we have will also tell you if a well and septic is required if one does sit on the property. It is also really helpful for us to know all foreclosures, bankruptcies, if there's a divorce, if there is a divorce and they are not on good terms, it is also good information to know that. Anything that we just need to be prepared of, because sometimes we're at the mercy of other people's turnaround time. So we just like to have everything up front in order to be prepared to, we do not want to delay closing at all possible. And last but not least, any updates please let title know if there's any updates, such as if the closing date has changed, if your buyers or sellers are going to be out of town, or more importantly, if they're going to be out of the country. We do have a service set up in order to serve out of town buyers and sellers. In the United States, it's easier. We use a company called Signature Closers, and they have notaries on staff in all 50 states. So what we do is set up an appointment for them. A notary will go out to the location that we tell them to. They will have docs in hand. They'll do the signing, and then they'll send us the docs back. For out of country signers, we do utilize a company, and they have Virginia notaries on hand. The cool thing with Virginia notaries is they are able to notarize in all 50 states, which includes overseas to US citizens. So they have Virginia notaries on hand, and if authorized, we do what's called a RON, a remote online notarization. And that is pretty much what we do right now, a Zoom call, and they will notarize it that way. However, something to keep in mind with using that is if there is a lender involved in the deal, the lender does have to approve the remote online notarization. If a lender does not approve it, then unfortunately your clients will have to go to the consulate in that country and get the documents notarized that way. I will say that it is a lengthy process. Sometimes appointments could take up until weeks. So like I said, that is why it's important to let us know this so we could kind of get all of that ironed out prior to closing if need be. So this is just kind of a timeline of the process, pretty much from when you guys send us the contract to when we close the file. First, I don't know if you guys can see this or if I could zoom in. I don't think I can, I'm sorry. First thing is what's going to happen is we are going to get the contracts, all of the other documents. We are going to order what's called a 42-year search on the property. What the search is going to bring up is any liens on title, such as mortgages, home equity lines. If there's any other more serious liens, such as federal tax liens, state tax liens, child support liens, mechanics liens, anything of that nature. Those kind of title issues, those are going to take a little bit longer to clear than just regular mortgages and home equity lines of credit. From there, we are going to order all of the payoffs. And like I said, that contact information is why it is absolutely crucial that we get that from the start, because without that contact information, we cannot require the buyers and sellers information to clear title. So once we get that 42-year search back, a commitment is typed, which is pretty much a summary on what was on that 42-year search. From there, we review it. We order all payoffs, all HOA status letters, we review any divorces on title, all LLCs, entities, anything like that. Once we receive the payoffs and everything, we kind of give the file to the escrow officer. From there, the escrow officer will kind of work with the lender back and forth to make sure they match on figures, and the lender will issue what's called a clear to close. We cannot schedule the buyers without getting that clear to close from the lender. So as soon as we get the clear to close and we are ready to close, have all payoffs and all status letters, escrow letters, everything that we need back, we will then schedule all parties for the signing. Like I said, we will send all documents to the notary. The notary will go out, do the signing, send or bring the documents back to the office if it can. We'll review documents, get lender okay to fund, and then we disperse, fund, and close. So there are a lot of puzzle pieces to actually close. So as long as we have all contact information, everything is upfront, we know everything that's going on, that is what is a successful close, and that is what's not going to hold up closing, and that is what's going to keep everybody happy. And then I think from there, this is where Tiffany's going to pick it up. Tiffany, if you have anything to add that I forgot, please let me know. I think you're on mute.
Okay. So I don't have to share. Can you drive for me?
Yeah.
Because then I'll just have to go through the whole thing you just did. So as Jade said, the most important thing really day one is making sure we have a fully executed contract, addendums, and ABA for GM title. Additionally, please make sure that you send your escrow letter with the purchase agreement, as well as all of the contact information for your client. If you're not sure if a city or a county has a specific requirement for that property, such as a point of sale, well and septic, Jade does have a list of cities and their requirements. So feel free to reach out to her and she'll get that over to you. Also, Julia and Danielle have those lists if you should need them. Another list that she made recently, which I found interesting, was one of our partners at GM Title. Their client was asking for a list of cities that do not have RETA. Jade, is that right? Not cities that do have RETA, but cities that don't. So if you have a customer who asks that in particular, Jade has that list as well. So the purpose of the title exam, obviously, is, as Jade said, is to show us any liens are on title. We review that. We call every single buyer and seller, and we speak to them, get their contact information, find out if they're going to be in town for closing, out of town, are they married, divorced, do they have any special needs as far as signings go. We do have a Spanish-speaking notary on staff. So if the customer, English is not their first language, Spanish is their first language, we can accommodate that. And we're working on adding additional foreign-speaking notaries so that we can accommodate and make sure our clients and their customers feel included and inclusive. We need all of the contact information. If the buyer or seller is a corporation, LLC, trust, or state, we will ask the customers for additional information regarding that, such as a copy of their operating agreement, maybe their corporate bylaws, or definitely a copy of their trust. We prepare the preliminary closing disclosure. That's the document that actually breaks down for the buyer's lender what their title fees will be. And we forward that along to the lender, along with all the title work, closing protection coverage, wiring instructions, and a 24-month chain of title. If we do not have escrow letters by that point, we reach out again. Our system automatically emails. As we check things off and do things in our system, if it's not shown as received, it will send you an email reminder that we've not yet received your escrow letter and to please send it as soon as possible. Also too, and something that we're going to add to this presentation is we recently brought on a new integration for our software that updates everybody in the transaction from beginning to end with 5 different milestones. So at the beginning of a transaction, both you and the listing agent, or you and the other agent, will receive a text message letting you know we've opened title. So are your buyers or your sellers. Everybody will also get an email letting them know who we are, what they can expect from us moving forward, and who their closing team is. We have 3 different closing teams here. So they're all assigned differently. And so we try to make sure that you always have the same closing team. In some cases, you may not. So we want to make sure that everybody knows who to reach out to if they need anything at all. Additionally, we verify and clear up any title issues or liens. So some of these, as Jade said, might be state of Ohio liens, that might be our party or not our party, IRS tax liens, child support liens, judgment liens for credit cards, medical bills, and so on. We verify first if it's our party. If it is our party, then we order payoffs for those liens and we pay them off just like we would a seller's mortgage. Something that a lot of people don't know about title is we actually also run the buyer's name for liens. So oftentimes if something comes up for the buyer, people are surprised at that. So I wanted to bring that up as well. If your buyer's name is John Smith, it's a little more complicated. We're probably going to ask them for some more information. But if any liens come up for your buyer and we do verify that they are for your party, we will have to pay those off at closing as well. Once the escrow coordinator has finished processing the file, this means they've cleared title, they have all payoffs in hand, they have all the escrow letters, all the contact information, and they've sent everything out to the lender. They've ordered a deed and a survey and anything else that might be needed. Then they pass the file along to the escrow officer. At this time, all parties get an email letting them know that the coordinator's completed the file and it's moved to the escrow officer. Essentially, at that point, if there's a lender involved, it's kind of a waiting game for the buyer's lender to be clear to close. As soon as they are clear to close, our closing coordination department schedules the buyer and seller signing at their convenience. We can sign a buyer and seller pretty much anywhere, anytime that's needed. And as Jade said, we do offer remote online notarization for sellers who are both here in the country and abroad. So it's very convenient for them if the buyer's lender will allow it. For a cash deal, we always recommend that option. That way the sellers they don't have to have anybody in their home. They don't have to worry about scheduling a time with the notary with us. So it's very convenient. Once a loan is clear to close, there's kind of a misconception that when a loan is clear to close, we'll know everything and we'll be done. And that's not really the case. We do not typically have loan instructions, fees, or documents at the time we get it clear to close. That usually takes 24 to 48 hours to receive those items. So at the time we're scheduling closing, we're not going to know how much money the buyer needs to bring to closing, and we're not going to have a final package put together for them. So, and we do explain that to them when we're scheduling their signing, that the escrow officer will be reaching out to them once we have loan instructions and documents in hand and a balanced closing disclosure with the lender. So just so you guys know that, let your buyer know if the title company is calling you to schedule, they're probably not going to have your figures for you, but they'll get it to you as soon as possible. Once we receive the loan instructions, we input all of the lender fees and any other requirements that they might have. And we do something called balance the CD with the buyer's lender. So basically we just match their CD and make sure they're not missing anything such as tax expirations, holds, and point of sales and things like that. The closing disclosure is actually not a title insurance issue document. It's a lender document. So we have to coordinate all of that with the lender. Once the CD has been approved, we will send a copy of the closing disclosure to the buyer, letting them know how much money they need to bring to closing, and again, providing them with our wiring instructions. We do that at the very beginning, but we also do it at the end so that they have it on hand easily. And then the seller will get, usually before that, but typically around the same time, they'll get a copy of their closing statement, letting them know what their closing fees were. They have a chance to review it prior to their signing. If they have to bring money into closing, which is unusual, we would let them know how much and how to wire those funds. If they don't owe money, then it would essentially show them how much money they're getting for the sale of their home. In the state of Ohio, if you have a client who needs to bring money into closing, especially a buyer, anything over $10,000 has to be wired by law. Anything under $10,000 can be brought in with a cashier's check. We will not accept personal checks. So it has to be a cashier's check or a wire. If it's under 10,000, they're more than welcome to wire those funds if that's more convenient for them. Just know that in order to get a cashier's check, the bank does charge a small fee. In order to wire, it's usually, I would say, like $30 typically for the buyer to be able to wire funds. So once a notary goes out to the closing, the notary they facilitate the signing. They can answer general questions, let them know what the document is they're signing and give them some details about it. But if they have any questions regarding their rate on their mortgage or why they're being charged a fee, those questions would get pushed back to either the loan officer or us. After the signing, the notary will bring all the documentation back to our office for processing. Buyers, lenders, pretty much every lender requires we scan over a package to them for review prior to them sending us the funds. Oftentimes, they give us a list of the documentations they need and an order in which those documents have to be in. So as you can imagine, it's a bit of a cumbersome process, but the lenders do that to ensure that everything was executed the way it should have been and by who it should have been. After the lender reviews it, they will give us the okay to file and they will send the funds. As long as we have the buyer's funds, the lender's okay, and the lender's funds, then we consider it closed. We go ahead and disperse that file, let everybody know that we've dispersed and closed, and then the documents are sent off to the county for transfer and recording. That was a lot of information. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. So at GM Title, our goal is to hopefully answer all of your questions before you ask them, including your client's questions. So Close Simple is a huge part of that for us. That's the system I was talking about that texts everybody and also sends emails at 5 different times throughout the transaction. So what we do is we tell them in those milestones, we've completed this milestone and what they can expect next and next and next and so on. So these are the touch points that we will talk to or email your customers. We send an order acknowledgement to both realtors. We send an introductory letter to the buyer and seller. We call the buyer, every buyer and seller. We'll email the realtors if we're still looking for your escrow letter, home warranty, anything like that. Earnest Money, this is something that's super important. So if you're working with a buyer, we have something that's super convenient. They can actually just go to our website, and as long as it's under $10,000, and deposit the funds via ACH transfer on our website. So they don't have to go to the bank, wire the funds. They don't have to get a cashier's check or mail in a personal check. I definitely don't recommend mailing anything right now. The mail is still quite a bit of a mess. So if you have a buyer and they need to deposit earnest money, I suggest they go right to our website. There's a button that says deposit earnest. They fill in all the information that's asked for, and then we usually get those funds within 1 to 3 business days. Then what we do is we send out a written receipt confirming that the funds have been received. After the initial processing is complete and all the preliminary items, we reach out again to schedule their signing, and then we reach out when we've transferred and dispersed. You can go to the next one, Jane. So the purpose of the title company is to make sure we serve 2 functions. The first function, our most essential function, is to actually insure the transaction, to ensure that the buyer has clear title when they have purchased the home. So they will have title insurance for the life that they own the home or their heirs own the home. So it's a security for them. It's a one-time fee that's charged at closing, and the title insurance for the new buyer is split in half between the buyer and seller. And that's how it's written on all the purchase agreements in our area. The second function that we facilitate is the actual closing of the transaction. In some states, such as California, they actually separate this entire process. So in California, you have a title company and you have an escrow company, and you deal with both. Luckily here, it's kind of a little more streamlined. We do everything all under one roof. And so our job, again, is to make sure title is clear. And in doing so, we have to review everything and then review it again. So we have checks and balances set up here in the office at every sort of movement point of the file to make sure that everything that was done prior was done appropriately. Everything was spelled correctly. Everything that was reviewed needs to be reviewed. Was the point of sale done? Were any previous title issues cleared up, and so on. Go to the next one. So common challenges that we come across that could make the deal run smoother is make sure the contract's fully executed. Send us your escrow letter with the contract. Make sure you're aware of what's required in the city that you're selling a home in, whether you're the listing or the buyer's agent. Is there a point of sale? Things like that. And then keep us in the loop with any addendums. And then obviously making sure we have everybody's contact information. Don't be afraid to ask us questions or have your buyer and seller ask us questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to service them and provide the best experience possible. So we want to make sure we're communicating. Something to bring to your attention as new agents is something called a dower interest. This is super important if you're working with both buyers and sellers. If you're working with a buyer and they're purchasing cash, you don't need to worry about it. But if you're working with a buyer and they're getting a loan, and let's say their spouse is not going to be in title with them or on the mortgage, their spouse does still need to sign at closing. There are multiple lender documents that they will be required to sign to release their down or interest in that loan. If you're working with a seller and they're selling a property as an individual and they're married, but their spouse is not entitled, their spouse still needs to sign the deed at closing. So if you have a situation where maybe they might have just filed for divorce, we've had situations where they literally don't know where their spouse is. They haven't seen them in years. Let us know that up front. If it's a contentious situation, let us know that up front as well. So again, cash buyer, you don't have to worry about it. Buyer who's getting financing, their spouse has to be at signing or at least sign the documents. They can do that separately. Seller, if they're selling as an individual, their spouse does have to sign the deed. This is super important. I think that's it for that page. This is all about our closing coordination department. This is something that not many title companies do. We find it essential. We feel like the process at the end feels very rushed and squished, for lack of a better word, for the buyer and seller. We want to make sure they're really taken care of at the end of the transaction. And part of that is making sure they're scheduled at their convenience, that a notary is on time, friendly, explains the documents to the best of their ability, and that the transaction closes on time. And so part of that is all of that really is our closing coordination department. Does anyone have any questions about that? You will be notified when your client is scheduled to sign and where and who the notary is. You'll be CC'd on that email. You will also get a text message when your buyer is scheduled to sign or your seller. Go to the next one.
That is it.
That's it. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, Bernadette raised her hand.
So maybe
ahead.
I missed that. So I was curious if this, and I apologize if I did. Excuse me. All right. One moment. Sorry, it's going down the wrong pipe.
Oh, no problem.
Are agents to be present at closings?
Certainly they're welcome to be present at closings. In other areas of Ohio where they do what's called a roundtable closing, the realtors such as Toledo, Cincinnati, Dayton, and Columbus, the realtors oftentimes do come to closing because all of the funds are dispersed at the table. Here, agents, it just depends on your preference and your availability. I would say certainly if it's someone that you've been working with for a long time, it does, make a good impression if you attend, but it's certainly not required.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I think Teresa had a question as well.
Okay.
Mute here. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, yes, I do have a question. We have an agent that wants to, I'm admin for him and wants me to order a point of sale and then have it and pay for it. And then have it paid back through escrow. Can we do that? I mean, at close?
Yeah,
just-
absolutely.
So we just.
I would just include it on your escrow letter.
Okay,
That you've paid for the point of sale and that you're to be reimbursed through closing.
okay,
And then maybe send an email to the closing team, just reminding them as well. And then make sure you review the closing statement to make sure it's correct.
so you would pay the brokerage and then the brokerage would disperse the funds back to the agent that way?
No, if let's say it's Joe Smith and he paid for the point of sale out of his own pocket, you could put on the escrow letter or just send us a separate email, just letting us know, please reimburse Joe Smith for $250. He paid for the point of sale up front.
And you would mail
seller.
him a check?
I'm sorry?
You'd mail him a check?
Yes, or we could send it with the commission and they could just leave it at the office for them. However you want that done, they can pick it up, whatever's convenient.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we've done that multiple times.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? All right.
Well, we wish you guys luck. Like I said, I really do encourage you to reach out to Jade and learn how to do a net sheet. This is a really important tool that you're going to need on a regular basis. And then anyone who wants to, now that we've opened up a little bit, you're more than welcome. Yes, everybody will, Danielle will send Bernadette, everyone a copy of the presentation. But yeah, everyone's more than welcome to stop in, meet your closing team, meet our office. There's a lot of people that work hard here to make sure the transactions get closed on time and smoothly, or as smoothly as possible. There are things that come up that are out of everybody's control, but we do try to get everything fixed and taken care of quickly. So feel free, if you're in Parma, feel free to swing in, say hello. And don't forget to schedule something with Jade to get net sheets. And then Kimberly Vaughn said she would be interested in that, Jade.
Kim, I will reach out to you. Can you type your, actually, yeah, I will email you and reach out to you, and you and I can set something up. Perfect. Thank you.
And Jade, just to give you a little background too, Jade was actually an escrow coordinator, escrow assistant. So not only is she able to help you grow your business, to give you the tools that you need to do that, she also knows title.
I do. So if you guys have any questions, I do know what I'm talking about. Feel free to text me, email, reach out. I will enter my contact information below. The phone number I am about to enter is my cell phone number. So like I said, feel free to text, call, whatever you guys prefer.
All right. Well, thanks guys for coming today. Danielle will send you, if you want a recording of this class to rewatch it, you're more than welcome. She also has the presentation on hand we can send to you, or she will send to you. And then Jade, reach out to her anytime you need anything at all, or myself.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.